Hey guys, hope you are well. My name is Rob. Welcome to Kinetic Rugby League. Before I crack on with the recap and predictions, I just want to give a special shout out to a certain individual by the name of Joe. I believe it was Joe. Hopefully I'm not mistaken on that one. Joe is a Wigan supporter who I met on the tube in London after the Challenge Cup final. He is a viewer and subscriber of the channel. That is the first interaction I've had with a viewer or subscriber of the channel. And it came out of the blue. I was very disappointed, very frustrated after that loss. I was very miserable. And that just completely fixed the day. It saved the day for me. It made me feel so much better that I'd finally met somebody that watches these videos. So, Joe, thank you very much for coming up to me, speaking to me about the channel and the game. Thank you for making it such a positive first experience with the viewer. And congratulations on the Challenge Cup final win. But I hope you enjoy the video. Let's crack on. So to quickly recap last round's predictions in round 13, I got 5 out of 6, very close in the Warrington versus Wigan game. I thought they could do it. I thought there wouldn't be quite as many players rested during the regular season game than there actually were. There was a ton of players rested, even on the side of Wigan as well. But yeah, so far, I'm happy overall. 59 out of 78 on the season, which is a prediction rate of 75.64%, which I'm happy with. I'm going to aim for 80 if I can get it. But yeah, we have 6 new games to go this week, so we'll crack on with the first game. Kicking things off in round 14, we have my vessel of happiness and destruction, Warrington Wolves, taking on Salford Red Devils. Starting with league position, Warrington sits in 4th place, and Salford sit in 6th place on the Super League ladder. In terms of recent form, both teams have won 3 in their last 5 Super League games. Warrington in the power rankings are 3rd for me at the moment. Salford are in 7th. In terms of player availability, Joe Philbin is going to be out. Fitzgibbon and Crowther are both to be confirmed on whether they'll be available this week. On the side of Salford, Cust is to be confirmed. Ormonroyd is out for the season, and Sidlow is also to be confirmed as well. I think over the past couple of years, Salford have been a bit of a bogey team for Warrington, even during times where Warrington have looked to be the better team. Salford have been a bogey team, just with the kind of structure, with the personnel that they've got. When you always look at Mark Sneed, his kicking game can be disruptive to a lot of teams, and especially Warrington. When Warrington are losing that field position battle and are being dominated in the kicking game, that's when Warrington tend to struggle. I do think the 2 things that help Warrington in this, number 1, is that they will want to right the wrongs of last week in the Challenge Cup final. They will desperately want to get back to winning ways. Losing 2 games on the bounce, heartbreaking against Wigan in the league, and then such an abysmal performance against Wigan in the Challenge Cup final. They will want to sort that out as soon as possible. So that's one. The other thing with Warrington is if they get back to what they were best at, which is spreading the ball early in the tackle count, deep in their own half, eating up the field position with King and Ty, Fitzgibbon, Nicholson, Curry through the middle as well, and getting Dufty attacking the edges, Warrington will just eat up the field position, and that will be the biggest downfall for Salford, as long as Warrington stick to that plan that has worked for them so much in recent weeks. But if Salford are on top with the kicking game, that will really disrupt it. But I think with those 2 factors leaning towards Warrington, I think a big turnaround is likely. I don't think it'll be a massive scoreline. I don't see a huge gap here because, as I said, Salford can be a bit of a bogey team. They will find ways to control the game. Josh Drinkwater has been good since he's come back from injury. His worst game, that sounded like a fart, that was my elbow, promise you. Josh Drinkwater, since he's come back from injury, has been decent, but the Challenge Cup final performance was not good. I think George Williams did a lot of hard work to try and open up the Wigan defence. And I trust him, in difficult moments to really switch on and make something happen from nothing. But I just think Warrington this week have been humbled a little bit against Wigan. Get back to what works. The occasion isn't going to be an issue, hopefully, this week. Just get back to what we know works, and we should be fine. Salford will have their moments. Defensively, we're still weak down the right-hand side, and there's a few ways that Salford could look at the blueprint that Wigan set in terms of shutting us down on the left-hand side as well and opening up gaps in behind King and Ashton. So Salford will pose a challenge, but I think Warrington have enough in the team, are a strong enough team as well this season to turn things around and get back to winning ways. So I'm going to go with Warrington Wolves 22, Salford Red Devils 18. Next up, we have Castleford Tigers taking on the Wigan Warriors. Starting with league position, Castleford sit in 10th, Wigan sit in 2nd. In terms of recent form, Castleford have won 2 in their last 5 Super League games, Wigan have won 4 in their last 5 Super League games, and for power rankings, I have Castleford in 10th, Wigan in 1st. For player availability, Castleford should have Miller back this week. They'll have McShane and Westerman both to be confirmed. Senior is out and Lawler is also out for a long time as well. And still on the injury list, Willie Isett is the only player to be confirmed. There may still be a few nagging injuries for some of the Wigan players after the Challenge Cup final, but nothing major to report, I don't think. I think this could be a complete and utter blowout. I wouldn't be surprised if Castleford are held to 0 in this one. With the amount of players they've got to be confirmed on the injury list, and some key players out, especially if Miller isn't back, it could be disastrous. McShane would be a big miss if he's not available, and Westerman offers, a decent level of clarity and structure through the middle of the park as well at number 13. But Wigan, the last couple of weeks have been on a different level. Ever since that loss against Hull KR in the league, they have just been a completely different team, and they are almost impossible to beat at the moment. Castleford, I liked what they did a couple of weeks ago, but it's starting to look like that energy is gone, and being hit with so many injuries, short-term and long-term, are going to have detrimental effects over the next couple of weeks. So when they can get back to full strength and not have to worry about the injury list, I think Castleford can then potentially make a push again for playoffs. But as of right now, the gap between Castleford and Wigan is monumental. But yeah, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Castleford were held to 0. Wigan could be looking at scoring 40 plus in this game. The way that they were spreading the ball against Warrington looked really effective. The kicking game was solid as per usual. Defensively, they were excellent. Even with Kieran missing on the right centre position, Eckersley, his decision making, no one went to jam and shut down Toby King and Dufty, Ashton. Great decision making from him, and that just goes to show that the overall structure of the Wigan defence is, ridiculous. And the thing is, if you're shutting teams down, fairly high up the field, and they have to kick on the last tackle, they can barely get any decent field position, you start your sets on like your own 30 or 40, and by the end of the set, with the way that we can carry the ball through the middle and on the edges with huge players like Havard and Mago, for example, and Thompson, and the play the ball, ruck speed that they've got, they'll be right in front of the try line by the end of the set nearly every single time. So Wigan could be scoring ridiculous numbers of points this week. So yeah. Oh, another thing as well that I thought of, I don't think they will do this. I really don't think they will, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they rested 1 or 2 players. Not a ridiculous number, but if they just gave Bevan French a break or Field a break, I don't think they will. But given the disparity between these two teams, the difference in quality, and the intense game last week, I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 key players were just given a week off, just to let somebody like Hampshire come in, or even Jack Farriman to come in and get some more game time in the number 6 or 7 role. So yeah, I don't think it would happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody of importance is rested. But yeah, this is going to be a blowout, I think, and I would actually be very surprised if this is a somewhat close game, and close is anything less than 18 points for me. So I'm going to go with Castleford Tigers 6, Wigan Warriors 50. Next up, we have Hull Kingston Rovers taking on the Huddersfield Giants. Starting with league position, Hull KR sit in 3rd, Huddersfield sit in 8th. For recent form, Hull KR have won 4 in their last 5 Super League games, Huddersfield have only won 1 in their last 5 Super League games, and for my power rankings, I have Hull KR in 4th, Huddersfield in 8th. For player availability, Gildart is still out for Hull KR, Burgess might be in this week. We'll have to see. He's to be confirmed. On the side of Huddersfield, they have Cervello, Levette, Swift, English, Murchie, and Cudjoe all to be confirmed this week. So we'll have to see in the squad selection. Huddersfield are not in a good place right now. I thought during their last win, which was in this 5-game period, was against Leeds. I thought from that point they could really kick on, find a bit of consistency, because that was quite a tough game at the time. And they found a way to win. There were some dodgy things that went on, but they found a way to win ultimately. Hull KR are on a different level to them. They have dropped off slightly, and they are a team as well that will want to right some wrongs and turn things around. They'll feel maybe not bitter about not being in the Challenge Cup final, but they have such high expectations at the moment, and that's the level that they wanted to be at. So the fact that they couldn't be in that game competing with Wigan again and really put up a fight, they'll be disappointed with not being there. So, and given some recent performances, they'll want to turn things around. Fair play to them in shutting out Leigh. Fantastic defensive efforts there. Only putting up 12, it's not so concerning to me because Leigh are playing fairly well at the moment as well, but Hull KR are just on a different level to Huddersfield. In all departments, they should be fine. Kicking game should be okay. In the forward battle, they should be fine. In the backs, they're starting to work some more things out now and look a little bit more clear. Evalds at fullback is still continuing to flourish, and when he's attacking the edges, Hull KR look really dangerous. And Huddersfield are still extremely inconsistent and defensively not looking good at all at the moment. And to not be at least somewhat convincing against Hull FC is a huge disappointment. I thought they'd at least have a bit more control over that game. I know I've said some positive things about Hull FC, but they still should have been a bit more clear in that game. And yeah, Hull KR on a different level. Mikey Lewis could have a masterclass this week. It's going to be important at this point now for Huddersfield to really start setting a tone. If they want to set a tone, this is a huge statement game to do it. Clune needs to be on it with the kicking game. They've got to get Connor off the kicking game. And they need Lolohea not getting rattled easily, attacking the line, because he can have some good moments, but they need some good line speed defensively against a very quick attacking Hull KR team, and that ruck speed through the middle needs to be exceptionally quick as well to beat them through the middle. So, yeah, Huddersfield are going to have a tough task here. Hull KR should be completely fine, and I think they should be very clear in the scoreline here. So I'm going to go with Hull Kingston Rovers 34, Huddersfield Giants 10. Next up, we have Hull FC taking on Leeds Rhinos. Starting with league position, Hull FC are in 11th, Leeds are in 7th. For recent form, Hull FC have won 0 in their last 5 Super League games. Leeds have won 3 in their last 5 Super League games. And for power rankings, I have Hull FC in 11th, Leeds Rhinos in 9th currently. For player availability, Vulka Chapani, Antuma Varve, Keita Sutcliffe, all unavailable for Hull FC. Houghton is to be confirmed at the moment on the injury list. For Leeds, Bentley, Donaldson, Fusatua, Lum all out, and Ackers, Russell and Roberts all should hopefully be available for selection on the side of Leeds. Even with the likes of, say, Ackers unavailable, I think Leeds should still have clear control over this game. I referenced positives that I mentioned during the Hull KR Huddersfield section. The positives I talked about with Hull FC is there feels to be a different energy. New coach announced, new players being announced for next season, like Abdul, for example. But having a new, having the future sort of ready to go, there's just a different energy, a different feel around Hull FC as a club. And with the performances, they just seem a little bit different, and there is a different energy. I think players like Walker at fullback provides a different level of energy to this team, and having Jake Truman in there is huge for them going forwards, and he's going to be vital to them kind of setting a tone and having an idea of what their identity will be going forwards. Of course, a new coach may change things, but there's a few players in here that will be there together, and a few combinations that will be together next year for Hull FC. So working those things out, building some rapport with each other will be huge going forwards. So I think Jake Truman can have some effect on this game, but against a Leeds team that have actually been doing fairly well over the last couple of weeks, I think we'll struggle. I'm still not entirely convinced on the Frawley factor down the left-hand side. Still a little bit stale from time to time. Brodie Croft is looking a little bit stale as well, but again, I think that's due to the flat attacking style. There's not really many dummy runs out the back. Lockie Miller, when he receives the ball, is forced to do a lot from, with absolutely nothing. So if Leeds can find ways to connect more, get Frawley and Croft and Miller on the same side of the field, really working both edges, Leeds can open up Hull FC, and defensively they are pretty poor. Leeds can have their moment in attack. So as long as they're attacking the edges and they are clear what they want to do on the last tackle, that has been a concern for me, is that they can make the meters through the middle. They've got good ruck speed, but it's the last tackle they have got no idea. Now, this is pretty common of all Super League teams, but especially of Leeds. They attack the right edge, ball goes short side to Brodie Croft. there's no special play coming. There's nothing that like Warrington do where they'll pass it sort of short side to Williams, then back inside to Dufty. It's going to the corner as a chip kick. It just is. That is what is going to happen. If I know it's going to happen, just a YouTuber, then I'm pretty sure the professionals know what's going to happen. It is clear as day. So Leeds are looking very predictable from time to time, but they are still the stronger team overall. Better individuals, I think as a unit, they're just stronger. And I have a feeling as of right now, they'll dominate this game. I'm not going to completely write off Hull FC, even though my scoreline will suggest that I am. But I'm just going to state now, I wouldn't be surprised if Hull FC actually make it somewhat competitive off their own accord and not off Leeds being poor. I think that if it is a tough game, a close game, that's off the hard work of Hull FC and not from Leeds being terrible. But I do just have the feeling that Leeds will dominate in this game, take control of everything, and just be able to open up Hull FC more. They seem to be slightly different. And with Hull FC not winning a game in their last 5, they'll want to turn things around, but they just are a really poor team at the moment. So I'm going to go with Hull FC 6, Leeds Rhinos 30. Next up, we have Catalans Dragons versus Leigh Leopards. Starting with league position, Catalans sit in 5th, Leigh sit in 9th. For recent form, Catalans have only won 1 in their last 5 Super League games. Leigh have won 3 in their last 5 Super League games. For power rankings at the moment, I have Catalans in 5th and Leigh in 6th. For player availability, there's no Takiaho and no McMeekan. Da Costa should be available for selection. Martu, Zenon, Seguier, McAlorum, Siridan, Romano, Garcia, Sims, Ikvalu, all to be confirmed on the injury list for Catalans. And there's a good chance that most of those will play anyway, but they're still to be confirmed, so we'll see. On the side of Leigh, there's no Asiata and Mulhern, but Brand, O'Brien and Holmes should all be available for selection in this round. I think Brand, if not this week, then either next week or the week after, but O'Brien and Holmes should both be fine. Leigh, fair attempt, 12-0. Obviously, it's not nice being held to 0, but to only restrict Hull KR to 12 points, given how strong they've been this season, that's a hell of an effort. Really is a hell of an effort. And I don't think that'll happen again, where they'll score 0. They've got great individuals in that team. Matt Moylan has been playing fantastic. He's at least playing it safe top 5 in the Man of Steel rankings at the moment. I want to say second, but I'm not entirely sure. Catalans have really been struggling with not knowing what their best spine is. They're dealing with a bunch of injury issues, as I've just listed. So even if some of these guys are available, they might still have nagging injuries as well. Abdul hasn't been quite as good as he was, I'd say, early on or a few weeks into the season. They're not flowing as much in attack with Abdul, with Faj, with Romano. They're a little bit stale at the moment, and they have been stale in some home games against even teams like Castleford and Hull FC. And when they've got the ball, they've put Catalans under some pressure. So I think Leigh will have a great opportunity here to really turn things around from last week or last time out. Leigh in attack, they do know how to spread the ball around. They're not a perfect team by any means, but they are starting to pick up some form. They are starting to find their way a little bit. And, with players like with Apape through the middle, with Moylan and Lamb attacking the edges, with professionals such as O'Brien back into the team, is a little bit like a Ryan Briley, for example, that they don't rely so much on turn of pace or speed. They rely on timing and decision making, and that players like that, in this Leigh team really complement the likes of Moylan, Apape and Lamb as well. So I think the spine of Leigh in this game should be fine. The question marks over the spine of Catalans will be a tricky one. Defensively, Catalans are typically strong. It's not been great for them defensively this season, but I trust them most weeks to compete defensively. So that's why I think it'll be a very close game. Leigh will be strong in attack. They'll look to put a lot of pressure on Catalans. I think it'll be relatively low scoring, but very close. But I think Leigh have enough in them to really challenge Catalans again. I know they battered them a few weeks back, but I don't think it'll be anything like that. I'd be surprised if it would be, but I think Leigh should be fine in this game, but it's going to be a very close encounter. So I'm going to go with Catalans Dragons 14, Leigh Leopards 16. Finally, for this round, we have the London Broncos taking on St Helens, starting with league position. London sit in 12th, Saints sit in 1st on the ladder at the moment. In terms of recent form, London have won 1 in their last 5 Super League games, Saints have won 4 in their last 5 Super League games. And for my power rankings, I have London in 12th, St Helens in 2nd. In terms of player availability, there's no Leyland or Wayne on the side of the Broncos. Parata and McCarney should be available for selection this week, and Natoli and Campagnolo are both to be confirmed whether they'll be available. For St Helens, there's no Walmsley, Knowles, Batchelor and Lomax apparently, and Hurrell is to be confirmed. So plenty of key players unavailable for St Helens, but I think they should be completely fine in this game. They've started to turn things around. They were a little bit stale in attack, but now they're looking to be a little bit more free-flowing. I pretty much say the same thing every week for London at this point. If London stand any chance in this game, which, by the way, I guess they could, because if they're going to have to replace Hurrell, there's, maybe a weakness on the edges. If there's no Lomax, there's going to be maybe less clarity in the kicking game. I know Lewis Dodd can take that on, but, Lomax would be there from time to time. Maybe the attacking structure is a little bit stale. No Walmsley, there's less punch through the middle. And no Knowles, there's less punch and structure through the middle as well. And Batchelor, less aggression and less effectiveness on the edges. So there's potentially a few weaknesses in there for St Helens. Compared to London, probably not going to be a huge deal. But, as I say for London every single week, as long as you get the basics right, quick play the balls, no mistakes, complete your sets, kick into the corners, pin them back, you wear St Helens down. They're not undefeatable this season. At this current point, seems almost impossible, but make sure you're completing your sets. Get the basics right. And St Helens are prone to making mistakes, as are all teams, but Saints aren't perfect. So just get the basics right, and you could start to wear them down. Get some repeat sets. If you start your set in, better field position, grub a kick into the in-goal area, get a few repeat sets. Don't try and force the tries. Don't try and force the points. Just keep that pressure on the try line. Now, Saints do a great job at withstanding that kind of pressure, and then suddenly countering with a great set of their own. They've been known to do that for the last decade and a half, to be honest. But London just need to get the basics right. They will struggle because the amount of pressure that Saints can put on them with the line speed defensively, they'll shut London down a hell of a lot. They do sometimes spread the ball around. There are some times London will attack the edges, spread the ball, have a go. Sometimes the execution is off. And with the pressure that St Helens have with their defensive line speed, they will be off from time to time. So it's just about London, just, as I said, getting the basics right. But St Helens in attack, flowing really nicely at the moment, defensively, looking a lot stronger. They've had some, challenges over the last couple of weeks and have taken them on quite well. And seem to be somewhat to the level that we expected them to be at. They've had their dip. They might have another dip later on in the season, but they seem to be doing just fine at the moment, and this could be a bit of a battering. So I'm going to go with London Broncos 6, St Helens 42. So to recap my predictions for this week, I'm going to take Warrington, Wigan, Hull KR, Leeds, Leigh and St Helens all to win. If you have your own predictions, do let me know in the comments down below. Let me know how you got on last week as well. But yeah, that is going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.